Today I'm reviewing the SMSL DS20 DAC and headphone amplifier. Desktop, yes. Portable, yes. Is it good? Yes. Does it have some quirks? Oh boy, let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Review. So check out the DS20 here. Doesn't that look neat? Now this guy is coming in at a price of about $189. Inside of here, there are 4 Cirrus Logic CS43131 DAC chips, and you can see them just there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And obviously, we've got a big glass panel on the front here that lets you see the PCB, the printed circuit board inside, along with all the components. Here we've got the XMOS XU316, which supports up to 32-bit 768 kilohertz and DSD256 native. In addition to that, it's got full MQA decoding, so no software necessary. This will do all that for you if you're into MQA, that is. And finally, in terms of output power, from the balanced output, you're looking at about 500 milliwatts, which is not huge, but it's pretty much sufficient for most people's needs. Let's have a look at the chassis now. It's pretty hefty. It is pretty chunky. I believe it's actually got a magnet in the back, so if you've got a MagSafe, if you've got a recent iPhone or a MagSafe compatible case for your Android phone, you can stick it onto your phone. But yeah, that's pretty chunky. It's pretty darn heavy. But let's have a look here at the front I/O panel, and over here we've got our volume rocker, which also serves as a function button. If you press it once, it switches between the USB UAC 1.1 and UAC 2.0 modes. And if you don't know what that means, UAC 1.1 is compatible with gaming consoles like your Nintendo Switch and your PS5, etc. If you're using a PC or modern smartphone, you want to use the UAC 2.0 for a slightly higher bitrate. Next on here, we've got a power button. Now a long press on here will turn the device on or off. A short press will show the current battery level. Then we've got our USB Type-C input here, and of course headphone outputs 3.5mm single-ended and 4.4mm balanced output. On the back, pretty ordinary, pretty sweet, nice, slick aluminium chassis here with a matte finish. It feels nice and sturdy in the hand, super sturdy in fact. And yeah, that's about all there is to it in terms of the physical exterior. In order to use this, it is super simple. You just plug in the USB and connect it to either your phone or your tablet or your PC, and you're good to go. There's no additional drivers necessary. By the way, I forgot to mention the battery life in here. Well, we've got inside a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, so that is pretty large. That's like the upper end of what you find in modern smartphones, but the user manual doesn't specify the battery life. It just tells you the battery size. Now, from my testing, I haven't run it from a full charge to empty in a single go, so I can't tell you exactly what the battery life is, but from my use of it, it feels pretty much in line with sort of modern day DAPs or digital audio players. So I'm assuming it's about 10 to 12 hours, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. Don't quote me on that. That's just the way it feels, but I don't have time to sit around and wait for the battery to drain and keep checking it. But before I go any further, let's get this how it sounds out of the way, and then I'll talk about, we'll power it on and we'll start talking about the quirks and the compatibility and pairing and whatnot. So in terms of sound, the DS20 has basically a neutral sound signature, but I'm hearing a subtle warmth there that gives it a little bit of extra musicality. Now that extra warmth, in my opinion, what I'm guessing, it's not from extra bass being, the bass being boosted or lifted. It's actually just the inherent nature of the treble in those CS43131 DAC chips. Now, I am super familiar with that chip. I've got loads of devices using them, dongle DACs, DAPs, and now this. And yeah, the treble is just slightly softened. However, it's still super airy, and you don't have any loss of detail at all. But I think that's just due to the nature of those DAC chips. But the highs are nice and airy, they're well extended, doesn't sound harsh or biting, which is obviously good for long listening sessions, and also if you have brighter IEMs or headphones. One of the things I noticed right away is the nice black background. It's pitch black, and that really helps instruments pop. It keeps the soundstage tidy and organized. Imaging and separation are solid. There's a good sense of layering in there. Of course, that's going to depend somewhat on what headphones or earphones you're plugging into it. But with good transducers, it doesn't feel cramped or congested in any way. By the way, that this device has outstanding signal to noise ratio and dynamic range. We're talking about 126 dB for the SNR and the dynamic range, and that is just outstanding for both. So let's come back to the output power for a second. It's adequate for anything I threw at it. I guess the most demanding thing I tested was my Sennheiser HD650s, which are 300 ohm headphones. It drove those without any issues, along with my Hi-Fi Man Sundara. Still a fair bit of headroom there. So for most people, I think the power output will be sufficient, although it's not massive, it's not hugely impressive numbers, but in reality, it's pretty substantial. But enough with all that. It sounds like it does. It's a DAC and amp. It's pretty neutral. But let's turn it on and we'll talk about some of the downsides to this device, which I don't know how well it'll show up under the lights, but boy oh boy, this thing when you power it on is bright. It's covered in these LEDs. There are lots of them and they are super bright. I can actually use this as a flashlight in pitch blackness. If you turn this on, you can navigate around the room with ease. But let's talk about what some of these lights actually mean. These 4 LEDs over here, there's just one under each DAC chip. They don't really serve any purpose except to remind you that it's got quad DACs in there. This series of LEDs here is the volume. So you'll see as I increase the volume, there it goes, it extends down. There are 10 volume levels. Well, there's more than that, but there are 10 LEDs indicating the volume in total. This little LED here indicates which USB mode you're in, UAC 1.1 or UAC 2.0. These lights here show the current battery level. So I just had to turn it off for a moment to show you this other functionality. So when it is powered off, if you do a short press on the power button, it will show you the current battery level, but it doesn't give you much time. It turns on pretty quickly. So although, that is pretty cool, I like LEDs in general. I like things that light and flash and indicate, but these are just so bright. They are literally distracting. Like if this is on your desktop and someone or you walk into the room, this is likely the first thing that you're going to notice. Your eyes will be drawn immediately to it. That's not great. Imagine being on a bus or a train with this. Everybody's going to be looking at you going, what the heck is that? Now, arguably, if you were bothered by that, you could just turn the device over, but then that begs the question, what is the point of having the see-through panel in the first place if you can't even admire the circuitry beneath? One other little thing that doesn't please me a whole lot is it's so easy to accidentally bump it into standby mode. You just have to press this button here just for the slightest moment and you're in standby mode. So if it's in your pocket and you just put your hand down there and accidentally press that button, you might find yourself switching standby mode on and off. Not really a big issue, but just something worth mentioning. But anyway, guys, let's just turn off those lights, turn the whole thing off because it's so bright. That is the SMSL DS20. Look, It's pretty good. It does sound great. It sounds amazing. It works perfectly with my computer and with my smartphone, but I'm not sure exactly if I would like to use this as a daily driver. If personally for me, I would probably end up buying a DAC or a digital audio player, like something like one of those little Hibbies, Hibby R6 Mark II, Hibby R3 Mark II, something along those lines. You know, the Shamling M3 I think is around that $200 mark. If you do that, you get bidirectional Bluetooth, so it can transmit and receive. In addition to that, you get a display, so you know exactly what's going on. You can see exactly what your volume is. And lastly, you get a standalone music player that doesn't require being tied to your phone or anything else to play music. That's just me, I don't know. But if you're looking for strictly a standalone DAC and headphone amplifier, this is a pretty good one. Having said that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it the old thumbs up, Pa Family Audiophile style. If you're new here or if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button now. And until next time, I'll see you later.